Hi friends, I'm Kavya Krishna KR. I am from IIT Varanasi, India. Uh, the paper which I am presenting today is a working draft of a paper which I am planning to write. Um, so the paper is titled as the subversive visual retellings of the legend of Nangeli, the subaltern woman who protested against breast tax. The Nangeli legend and its contemporary visual retellings upon which this paper is based is situated in the history of breast cloth struggle or Chanal revolt, a series of protests by lower caste women to gain right to wear upper cloth which happened in erstwhile kingdom of Travancore, which is present day Kerala, South India. Apart from formal history of the struggle, there is also the popular legend of an Izhava woman named Nangeli who chopped off her breasts as a revolt against the breast tax. As per the story, her revolt and subsequent death led to a series of people's movements and the tax was nullified in Travancore. The legend of Nangeli, which was popular only as an oral narrative and was otherwise unrepresented in history, got visibility recently through two visual reconstructions of the same. One is A Travancore Tale 2018, a graphic story of Nangeli by artist Orjit Sen, and the second is the painting of Chitrakaran T. Murali in his book Amana, Pictures Which Are Not Part of History. The paper tries to see whether the visual narratives by Sen and Murali are actually subversive. It tries to read how the narratives critique mainstream culture and history and recovers and reconstructs the subaltern woman's protest for dignity. It tries to do a cultural analysis of the visual reconstructions of the legend of Nangeli and the conditions which made such a retelling possible and tries to problematize the reconstructions from a subaltern perspective. The Brest-Croat struggle or Chanal revolt, which happened in between 1813 to 1859 roughly, is a series of protests by lower caste women to gain right to wear upper cloth, which happened in erstwhile Travancore kingdom of present-day Kerala, South India. Adding to it was a breast tax which was imposed on lower caste women if they wanted to cover their breasts in public. The tax was decided according to the size of the breast. Until early 20th century, lower caste men and women were not allowed to cover their upper body. Even upper castes were supposed to remove the upper clothes in front of higher caste Brahmins and the deity inside the temple. However, the colonial interventions and Christian conversion gave a section of lower caste women, specifically those from lower caste Chanar community, the chance to wear breastcloth. Following this, non-converted lower caste women from Chanar and Irava communities too started wearing breastcloth. This act disturbed the Travancore royal administration and caste Hindus, and they petitioned the king saying that it will disrupt the caste distinction maintained in society and will lead to caste pollution. In 1828 and 29, Travancore government again intervened in the issue and prevented use of breastcloth by lower caste women. However, with colonial intervention from British Dewan of Travancore in 1813 and Madras governor in 1859, these women got right to use breastcloth like Christian women or like fisherwomen, but not exactly like upper caste women. The protests by lower caste women were met with violence by upper caste who attacked the huts, schools, churches, etc. The protests continued till 1915-1916, even though many lower caste women challenged the law and used breastcloth in the way they want. It is also considered as one of the earliest feminist liberation protests for the right to dress modestly by subaltern women in Kerala. In this regard, historian J. Devika, in her article The Aesthetic Woman Reforming Female Bodies and Minds in Early 20th Century Keralam, says that dress and ornaments also marked hierarchical distinction. Groups located lower in established order were prohibited from finer clothing, umbrellas, and gold jewelry. Jadi groups or caste groups had to maintain these signs strictly. The well-known breastcloth struggle of 19th century South Tiruvadamkur involved not only the issue of feminine modesty but also struggle around Jadi. Unquote. Now let us look at the Nangeli legend. The legend of Nangeli, which is well known across Kerala, is not part of the official history of the breastcoat struggle. It can be considered as a subversive story which is part of the oral history. According to the legend, Nangeli, a lower caste Eedava woman from Cherthala in present-day Alappuzha district of Kerala, chopped off her breast with a sickle and placed it in a plantain leaf in front of lighted ceremonial lamp and presented it to tax collectors when they came to check her breast and collect the tax according to the size. The act led to excessive bleeding and Nangeli passed away. Unable to bear the sorrow, her husband Chirukandan jumped into her funeral pyre and died. While many believe it is a true incident which happened during the time of Brusco struggle, there is no official historical record to verify the date. But many subaltern historians put forth the argument that official history may not record such incidents as it is written by those in power and not the oppressed. The legend, which stands as a subversive narrative about the vehement bodily protest by a subaltern woman, which history needs to mark. Now let's move on to the analysis of the two visual representations, contemporary visual representations of the legend of Nangeli. The legend of Nangeli, which was circulated only as oral narrative and otherwise unrepresented in history, suddenly got visibility in recent years through two visual reconstructions of the same. One is a Travancore Tale 2017, a graphic story of Nangeli by artist Orijit Sen, and second is a painting by artist T. Murali published in his book Amana, Pictures Which Are Not Part of History. The subversive visual narrative by Sen and Murali critiques mainstream culture and history and recovers and reconstructs the subaltern movement's protest for dignity. Let us look in detail how the legend of Nangeli is visually reimagined by these artists and what are the contemporary historical conditions which made possible and necessary the reclaiming of the legend which might have gone to oblivion. Orjit Sen's Travancore Tale came out in his own social media page and later on in the e-journal Guftugu in its special 2017 edition in memory of Rohit Vemula 1989-2016 on the first death anniversary of the Dalit student Rohit Vemula who committed suicide in Hyderabad Central University in India. The Travancore Tale by Orjit Sen carries the title Remembering Nangeli on Rohit Vemula's martyrdom day. The artist ends the graphic story by saying that the Travancore Tale is dedicated to Rohit Vemula, who, like Nangeli, chose death over indignity. Thus, artist Sen's graphic story narrates Nangeli as a martyr, perhaps an earlier instance from history of self-sacrifice by subaltern subject in the fight for dignity, equality, and justice. His graphic story connects the suicide of the Dalit student Rohit Vemula with the sacrifice of Nangeli and constructs both their deaths as martyrdom. Now let us have a close look at the graphic story by Orjit Sen. Orjit Sen's story. This is the first slide. The second slide. Third one. Fourth one. Fifth one. And sixth one. Orjit Sen's graphic story reconstructs the legend of Nangeli as a narrative told by an old Irava woman in contemporary times, standing in the balcony of her house in a junction which is named after Nangeli. A detailed analysis of the graphic story from the Dalit subaltern perspective reads the reconstruction as an exoticized upper caste imagination of the legend. Such a reading considers Sen's graphic story as selective fetishizing of Dalit Bahujans whose death becomes spectacles for liberals and serve as an excellent site for the revolutionary fantasies to blossom. The graphic story with English description is considered as one created for commodification and large-scale broadcasting without any sensitivity to the subaltern perspective. Scholar Pinak Banik, in his article titled From Breast Tax to Brahmanical Stripping in Comics, Audit Sen and Brahmanical Sadomasochism, critiques Sen's graphic story as one which follows the accepted artistic trajectory to construct Nangeli's act of resistance as individual heroism, I quote, individual heroism, isolated rebellion, and as an act of free will, unquote. The article argues that such a representation detaches the enriched narrative of anti-caste struggle of the period led by revolutionary anti-caste leaders like Arattapuzha Velayutha Panikar, Ayyankali, P. Palpu, Srinarayana Guru, Sahodaran Ayyappan, etc., of which Nangeli and many other lower caste men and women might have taken part in their own ways to resist caste oppression and surveillance on their bodies and lives. The subaltern critic of Ojit Sen's graphic story critiques the Japanese manga style depiction of the blood splashed, mutilated body of the subaltern woman as perverse. I quote, as perverse Brahmanical male gaze and cool pseudo euphoric course party. The article also compares such a representation with the poem by white male American poet Kenneth Goldsmith, reading his own manipulated version of Michael Brown's autopsy report, calling it a poetry titled The Body of Michael Brown at Brown University in 2015. Regarding Orjit Sen's representation, another scholar, Huma Dar, also responded to the debate in the following manner. I quote, if Nangeli's courageous resistance to Mulakaram or breast tax legal depravity specifically entailed covering her breasts and culminated in a suicidal act of cutting them off, why is Mr. Sen bearing her breasts and those of four other women of her community in his very graphic pictorial story yet once again? Nangeli died not to bare her breasts to the Brahmanical gaze, yet a respected Brahmin artist doesn't think twice about the continued indignity of imposing forced nakedness, even as he ironically eulogizes the choice of death over a life of indignity. Both Pinak Bainik and Humadar argues that Orjit Sen's graphic story does stripping of a lower caste woman in the name of solidarity, artistic interest, and freedom of expression. They consider the art field, which is predominantly an upper caste institution in India, where power struggle plays out. In such a space, if one calls the art practice like that of sense as a matter of taste in the sense of Bourdieu, then that taste is shaped by negotiation within upper caste only. The Dalit critic of Sen's graphic story will be complete only when it is placed against T. Murali's three paintings of Nangeli's story, which is part of his book Amana, Pictures Which Are Not Part of History, published in 2016. These are the three paintings. This is the first one, second one, and third one by T. Murali. These are originally acrylic paintings on canvas, and the book has the reprints of the painting. The book Amana Paintings actually contains 35 paintings which traces the caste hegemony and anti-caste struggle in Kerala, which the artist claims were not properly represented by formal history or aesthetic representations. The paintings are together with one-page description in Malayalam language about the history which the painting is trying to represent. In the introduction to the book, Amana Paintings, Dr. Ajay Shekhar calls these paintings as those which critique culture and history. So let us have a close look at the Nangeli paintings by T. Murali. In the first painting named Nangeli Sacrifice, she is portrayed as lying down, dying after chopping off her breast, presenting it in a plantain leaf in front of a lighted ceremonial lamp. And the background of the picture has Travancore king, his advisory, the Brahmin priest, and the Naya soldiers, and all of them are placed against the backdrop of Sri Padmanabha Swami temple. The description says the legend of Nangeli, placing it within the history of a number of insensible taxes which lower castes were made to pay in the erstwhile Travancore kingdom. It reads Nangeli's story as one among many struggles by lower caste women for dignity. Artist says that to celebrate and understand Nangeli as a symbol of lower caste resistance and lower caste resistance against oppression, our society has to grow more truthful and knowledgeable. The second picture, the Great Nangeli, represents Nangeli in a standing position in the act of chopping her dress, and her hair is shown as creating a halo around her, which makes the impression of a goddess. At the bottom of the frame is the image of the sculpture of the deity Sri Padmanabha Swami, as seen in the Sri Padmanabha Swami temple in Trivandrum. The description of the picture says the history of Travancore kingdom uh, surrender at the feet of the deity Sri Padmanabha Swami, which in turn becomes an obedience to the whims and fancies of the Brahmins by the rulers of Travancore. He further says that in front of Nangeli's sacrifice, the sacrifice of the Travancore kings as servants of the deity Sri Padmanabha is nothing. In the first image, one can also see that all of them, the king, the Brahmin, and the soldiers, have their eyes covered. Which exemplifies their blindness towards a caste oppression and how unaffected they were about the suffering and struggles of a large section of their citizens in the name of caste. One has to also notice that there is no exoticized male gaze by anybody on the body of Nangeli in T. Murali's paintings, and there is no sensationalization of the blood-shedding mutilated body. The third painting, Nangeli Sacrifice 3, um, comes with the description that it is a correction of the earlier two paintings which he made. Because in the earlier paintings, Nangeli is shown as chopping her breast with a knife, but which later on he realized was done using a sickle used for farming. And the description of the painting says about his visit to the current living generation, who are the great grandchildren of Nangeli's sisters, uh, children. It also carries photos of his conversation with the relatives. So, after saying that, the artist says that he is committed to mark Nangeli again and again through colors and paintings. Under Kerala society understands the importance of Nangeli sacrifice. By placing the legend of Nangeli within the larger anti-caste struggle and reform movement in Kerala, and by not exoticizing the lower caste female body, in a sense, artist T. Murali does justice to the legend of Nangeli. Nangeli sacrifice is posited against the erstwhile Travancore kingdom, which is usually held as a welfare state, but in a closer look or closer reading, it is and it was one of the casteist state or kingdom which existed. In his representation, Nangeli is not an individual heroine, but part of a part of and symbol of the several subaltern anti-caste resistance movements which Kerala has witnessed in last 2 centuries. To conclude, thinking about uh, what made possible these two retellings of the Nangeli legend possible, we can think that the Dalit intellectual movements and uprisings across the country, in a sense, paved way to the resurrection of many subaltern oral narratives of resistance, which formal history has not noted down. The paper, which I presented now, needs to be placed within the larger social reform movement which happened in Kerala And it also demands to be read along with the sartorial history and refashioning of female body in colonial India. It also demands theoretical analysis using feminist theories of embodied resistance. However, for this presentation, I have just done the presentation of data, and further analysis of the same is kept for the future while developing it into a full-fledged paper, which hopefully I can do when I am back to good health. Thank you, dear friends, for this opportunity to present the paper. Bye.